rest of Redditor updates, where OP's boyfriend might be doing it with his own mother. Our next Reddit post is from RSlash Am I Overreacting, and the title is, Do my boyfriend and his mother have an incestuous relationship? My boyfriend is 23 and I'm a 22-year-old woman. We've been dating for 6 months now. We were friends for 3 years before dating. I am also pregnant. He's been an absolutely amazing boyfriend, but I'm noticing weird things with his mother that are really creeping me out and making me question this relationship and this pregnancy. I've been pretty much living with my boyfriend under his mother's roof for about 4 months now. I sleep here every single night. She's a single mother and in her 60s. My boyfriend's dad is remarried, and he's told me that since the divorce, his mom has been depressed and never been quite the same. They divorced when he was quite young, maybe around 7 years old. She still cries to this day about the divorce and infidelity, as well as his father remarrying, and I don't think she's ever truly gotten over him. She doesn't date and hasn't since the divorce. My boyfriend has told me multiple times in arguments with his mother she'll constantly compare him to his father and say things like, "You're just like your father, you don't care about me." I also want to note that my boyfriend looks exactly like his father. I noticed pretty early on that it seems like she takes out her feelings about her ex-husband on my boyfriend. When we first started dating, he would say that his mother is jealous that she's not spending as much time with him anymore, and she's been like that with all of his exes. I noticed she doesn't make much of an effort to talk to me. She's a bit awkward, and when she's home, she pretty much just stays locked in her room. He says she likes me, and she's always kind when she talks to me. But for some reason, my intuition is strongly telling me otherwise. There have been multiple times where we pick up food, and he asks her if she wants anything, and she says no. When we come back with food, she'll send him texts or say to him personally that we only care about ourselves and not her. I noticed these red flags early on, but brushed it off. Here's where things get really weird and twisted. I don't want to believe this is what's going on, and I feel crazy for even having these thoughts. But it's hard to find another explanation about things that I've heard. One Saturday morning, everything was going as normal. My boyfriend and I woke up together, did our morning routines, and decided to play a couple games on the PS5 together as we normally do on weekends. I was feeling tired as I'm pregnant and the hormones have been making me super exhausted. So after a couple of games, I decided to take a little nap. He turned off the PS5 and put a YouTube video on the TV, kinda loud. He said he would make me breakfast while I napped, so I dozed off as he left the room. It sounded like he went straight to his mother's room and shut the door. Her door is creaky, and I can hear every time it opens as it's right next to his room. He often goes to his mother's room and talks to her for a while, so I paid this no mind and continued to rest. I'm a very heavy sleeper, by the way. I'm not sure how much time passed, but I woke up to the sound of banging on the wall, very loud. I then heard the door open and him say, "Oh, so you," and I didn't hear the rest. But it almost sounded like, "Oh, so you want to be bad, huh?" or something along those lines, and the loud banging continued, now sounding like it was in the hallway right outside the door. I heard mumbling that literally sounds like the way he talks to me when we do it. I sat in bed confused and listened for a couple more minutes. I could have sworn I heard her gasp or something. At this point, I was freaking out because it literally sounded like love-making noises. I got up and sat in front of the TV, which is next to the door, and I put it on mute. Right after I did that, the banging stopped, almost as if they heard me awake and stopped doing whatever they were doing. I then heard shuffling and his mother say, "Lie," and he said, "Yes, ma'am." I heard him go downstairs for a few minutes, then he came back into the room with a bowl of cereal. Mind you, usually when he makes me breakfast, it's pancakes, bacon, eggs, and hash browns. I straight up asked him what was that noise, and he looked super nervous, then said, "I was arguing with my mom." I asked him about what, and he was stuttering nonsense, and he said he was arguing about a Christmas present. I thought this made no sense. I asked him if the argument got physical because I was hearing loud noises, and he said no. I was pressing him, asking him what that could have been. Was he moving furniture or something? It was very loud. He began pacing around the room nervously and said quietly, "I'm filled with regret." After an hour of pressing him about it and him telling me it was just an argument, he didn't know what the noise I was talking about, etc., I dropped it because I literally thought I was going insane. I know what it sounded like, but I didn't want to believe that something so twisted was going on. And the fact that they were doing it while I'm in the next room, sleeping and pregnant. I was literally uncontrollably shaking, extremely disturbed at what I just heard. It was clear as day what it was, but I genuinely thought that I was maybe losing it. Later that night, I brought it up again and implied that I thought something was going on. Or maybe the argument got physical and he shouldn't be afraid to tell me. He then was like, "Want me to ask my mom if we were hitting each other?" He then goes to his mom's room and asks her if anything went on and was telling her how I think they got into a physical fight. He comes back to me and tells me his mother said that it's just pregnancy hormones, and I'm overthinking it. And then she proceeded to text him, "We don't live like that," which he showed me. I took a day to think about it, and I came to the conclusion that I'm not crazy. I know what I heard. I started thinking back on if I ever heard weird things or felt weird vibes concerning his mother. And it turns out there were a couple things I overheard in the past that made me look at them sideways. Some examples. 1. I heard him walking up the stairs behind her and say, "I can still feel around," and she laughed. 2. I once heard the sound of clapping coming from her room when he was in there talking. 3. I heard them in the kitchen semi-arguing and him saying to her, "I'm trying my best. How can I be better for you?" As if they're in a relationship or something. 4. He once told me that as a child, the doctor thought that his mother was molesting him because he saw her hair wrapped around my boyfriend's thing. 5. Now that I think about it, I've heard banging or weird noises before when they're talking for long periods of time, whether it be in her room or downstairs in the living room and kitchen. 6. All day, every day, his mother is constantly texting him, bothering him about coming home, seeing what he's doing, etc. 7. One day, he said he was going to make me breakfast a separate time from the one mentioned above, and I fell back asleep. His mom was also home in her room. I woke up to him coming back in the room, freshly showered with only a towel around his waist, with no breakfast for me. This is unusual because usually when he says he's going to make me breakfast, he goes to make it right away and wakes me up with it. Also, he never showers at this time of day. After hearing the weird stuff that I've now heard, it makes me wonder if he was in his mother's room. 8. I once heard his mother go downstairs while he was in the kitchen and he thought that I was sleeping. I then heard him saying, "Come on, Mom," and her laughing and walking away. He kept calling her to come back and she goes, "Not tonight, baby." Could he have been asking her for intercourse? It's now been a couple of weeks since the incident where I heard the loud banging. It's been running through my mind every single day. His mother already gave me uncomfortable and off-putting vibes since the beginning. But now I feel very paranoid and creeped out about her and their relationship. I've since pressed him about it again and pretty much told him what I heard sounded very weird and like something sexual was going on. We argued about it for like 2 days straight. He insists that he and his mother do not have a weird relationship, and him and his mother have no idea what loud noises I was hearing. How can they have possibly not heard something so loud, especially when the noises were coming from where I heard both their voices? He's tried to explain it away in every possible way, but nothing makes sense. He said it could have been the dog, the neighbors, or footsteps, but I've been living here for 4 months now, and I know what all those things sound like. This was absolutely none of those things. I wish I'd opened the door to get physical proof, because now it just feels like I'm being lied to. I've been doubting myself thinking this could actually be possible, but when I think back to what I heard, it was so clear. I'm slowly putting the pieces back together, and I don't know what to do. Today, I feel like I've reached my breaking point. I don't know if I'm being paranoid now, but something that happened today has made me overthink the situation even more. We were hanging out as normal. I noticed he and his mother texting back and forth a bunch. He then went downstairs to make me soup because I was feeling nauseous. I thought I heard her door quietly open and close, which is weird because she usually swings it open loudly and I hear the creak. She also has super loud footsteps, but I didn't hear her going downstairs, so I thought that I was tripping maybe. Then I heard banging coming from downstairs, which I figured was just my boyfriend cleaning and making food. The soup only takes 5 minutes to make. It's a packaged soup. He was downstairs for about 30 to 40 minutes. He came back upstairs with my soup, and then I hear his mother loudly coming upstairs. So I was right. I did hear her door open as if she was sneaking downstairs so that I couldn't hear. I asked him what took so long, and he nervously was saying a bunch of things that didn't make sense. He made no mention of his mother being downstairs. I then asked if he was talking to someone, and he nervously said, "Yeah, my mom." Then he accused me of being paranoid about his mom and that I think I'm hearing things. I made no mention of his mom or hearing things, even though I did hear banging. So does this mean he knows he was being loud and I could have heard it? It seemed like projection and him feeling guilty about something he's doing with his mother. At this point, I do not trust him being around his mother, and I'm still disturbed and drained. I'm horrified and don't know what to do. I know this all sounds so crazy and outlandish, but my gut is telling me something's wrong. There's no mistaking what I heard that day. Am I being crazy, or should I trust my gut and what I know I heard? I feel like the signs and things that I've heard now are so blatantly obvious, and I cannot ignore it anymore or try to explain it away. It genuinely seems as if something incestuous is going on with my boyfriend and his mother. I've always said that I don't want to be a single mother or raise a child in a broken home, and now I'm 3 months pregnant. I also fear that if he does have a sick and twisted relationship with his mother, who's to say he wouldn't try to do the same thing with our child? I'm seriously considering terminating the pregnancy and breaking up with him. What should I do? And does it sound like I'm overreacting, or should I trust my gut? Also, OP answers some clarifying questions. People ask why I never go in the kitchen or make food myself. I'm not lazy at all, and I would gladly make him and myself food because I actually love cooking. But he would never let me go in the kitchen because he says he's embarrassed by the state of it. I've offered numerous times to cook, but he would never let me. One day, when him and his mother were at work, I went to peek in the kitchen to see what the fuss was about and why he wouldn't let me in there. It was a mess. The sink overflowing with dishes, cabinet doors falling off, clutter everywhere, and dog piss on the floor. So I guess I see why. Then, 2 months later, OP posted an update. We've had numerous conversations about how I feel something weird was going on the day that I heard the banging. And I feel like something is very off about his relationship with his mother. I straight up told him it sounded like they were having intercourse. I also told him that if something like this was going on, it has clearly been something he's been dealing with since a child, and I'd be willing to get him help, but he needs to realize that this is effing sick. And whether or not the relationship was sexual, she clearly is emotionally incestuous with him, and he needs to do something about it now or he'll lose me forever. I cried to him and expressed how if such a thing was going on, not only do I feel sorry for him and I can empathize as I've been a victim of childhood sexual abuse, but I need him to understand how I feel being dragged into such a messed up situation when I'm just a girl who fell in love with him having no idea what I was getting myself into. He's never outright admitted that something was going on that day or in general, but things that he said and his behavior leads me to believe that he was being taken advantage of by his mother. I've straight up said if I'm crazy or having delusions to think something so sick is going on, I will gladly get help or check myself in somewhere. To which he said, "You're not crazy. I don't think you're crazy." In our conversations about this, he's cried. He said he's probably traumatized by her, and he said things like, "She's sick." He expressed to me how he wants to get out of there and be away from her. I could see in his face when confronting him about this, he looks visibly traumatized and just sick. He gets worked up in a way that to me just screams that he's traumatized. Sometimes he hyperventilates when talking about it and stutters and his voice cracks. The things he says feels like he's trying to tell me and confirm it without saying it. He once said, "I'll tell you more about my mother and my childhood when we're out of here," meaning moved out. Maybe it was uncomfortable to talk about, especially because we're still around her. All of these things feel to me like subtle confirmations. Since then, I've noticed that he's created distance from her. He would leave the door wide open anytime he stepped out. He tells me he wants me to trust him and I can go downstairs if I ever feel weird. He's expressed how much he truly loves me and doesn't want to lose me over this, and he's been proving it with actions. He's also made a massive effort to move out of there and away from his mother. I'm still pregnant. I actually had made an appointment to terminate the pregnancy because of this. I was in the worst mental state and depression I've ever been in. My appointment fell on the last day that it was legal to terminate in my state, and it was 2 hours away because the clinic closest to me didn't have available appointments. I ended up missing that appointment. Looking back, now it feels like fate, maybe. I now am in a better mental state, and I've grown to love my baby, and I'm glad that he's still there. It's a boy. I expressed to my boyfriend that I would not ever feel comfortable with his mother around my baby, and he agreed with me. My boyfriend and I have since moved out and gotten our own place. We're going on 2 weeks here now. I haven't brought up the situation again, as we've been busy with moving and I'm giving it some time. But I do believe now that we're in our own place, he'll eventually open up to me about this, and hopefully we can seek some sort of therapy or professional help. Lastly, I want to note some disturbing behavior from his mother that I noticed in the weeks leading up to our move. We went out to dinner with her on 2 separate occasions where she said weird, inappropriate things. My boyfriend was talking about the food, saying that every time he comes to this restaurant, his food comes out different. To which she replies, "What? Every time I come, it's different." What? Yo, what? During the car ride there, we all rode in the same car, we were talking about how my boyfriend used to have 2 jobs, but he left one of them because he didn't have time for anything anymore. And then she says, "No time for sex." Also, he was talking about how the car had good seat warmers, and she made a comment about how the heat feels on his balls. Very weird and uncomfortable. Ew. A couple of days before we officially moved out, she sent him a nasty text that was reeking of jealousy. He read it to me and showed me. She was berating him and me, calling us all types of names, saying she's so glad we're going to live happily ever after. Sarcastically, obviously. She hopes our baby doesn't come out with issues, that we're selfish and horrible people, and she never wants to see him again. Clearly lashing out because she's jealous and angry that her son that she's so in love with is moving out and starting a life without her. Mind you, this woman is in her 60s acting like this towards her son. Despicable. The last time we were at our house packing our final things up to move to our apartment, I think she was trying to ask him for intercourse like the sick F word that she is. If it's not something sexual going on, she was still being weird and making him, and me, uncomfortable. He was downstairs packing some things and left the bedroom door wide open, and as he was coming back up the stairs, she comes out of her room. He tells her that he's about to leave, and she's like, "Why didn't you wake me up?" Innocent enough, right? She then asks if he's going to walk the dog. I believe trying to get him away from me for enough time. Then I hear her ask if he can hang out with her for old time's sake, to which he tells her no. She starts mumbling, and I make out the word cuddle, and then she's like, "Real quick, just 5 seconds, please?" And he tells her no again. I hear her say, "You're never coming back," sounding sad. When he comes back into the room, he looks visibly uncomfortable and his face is red. The energy was just off and uncomfortable, which leads me to believe this was not an innocent interaction on her part. And it was clear to me that he wanted to be far away from her. I then go into the hallway where she's still standing there like a creep, like trying to wait for him to be alone. And I tell her I'll go walk the dog with him. Me and him walked the dog, put our final things in the car, and finally got the F out of there. Dealing with this situation has not been easy in the slightest. I've chosen to move forward with him because I see the effort he's been making to make me feel more secure. I do believe he realizes how weird this relationship is with his mother, and I truly empathize and I do love him. And I want to get him help because I believe he's a victim and that it's not his fault, and he's surely traumatized by this lady. I'm already traumatized by her, and I haven't dealt with her for nearly as long as him. I hope and pray from now on that we no longer have to deal with this evil woman and her issues, and focus on our own family. Girl, the state of the kitchen alone would have been enough to get me out of that relationship. Add on top of that, the cheating and the incest, I'd have been long gone. There would have been like a cartoon silhouette of my body in the wall as I break through the wall and flee to safety. This guy finishes banging his oh my God. This guy bangs his mom and then goes downstairs to cook a meal for his pregnant girlfriend while there's a puddle of dog piss on the floor. And Opie's like, "I really love my boyfriend, but I don't know, I'm kind of having mixed feelings about him now." Oh man, I sincerely hope for the best for OP and her child, but I'm not feeling a lot of hope at the moment. That was r/best of Redditor updates. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.